Hey everybody, it's Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today we are going to be painting this gorgeous couple of koi swimming around each other. We're going to be breaking this down step by step. I'm going to explain every technique, everything I'm doing. This is part of a really cool free painting challenge called Acrylic August, where we meet every single day from August 1st to August 31st doing a brand new painting. So maybe you're here for the daily painting challenge, or maybe you just saw these koi in the suggested videos and you thought you'd like to paint them. I want to welcome all of you for whatever reason has brought you to this tutorial here. This is the one where we are for real going to paint some fish together. Now on the mic is my husband, John.
Hello.
You will hear him throughout the video. He's going to be pointing the cameras and zooming in as I'm doing techniques, just making sure that while you're at home, you can see everything, because what you can see, you can paint along with and duplicate. And again, I'm going to explain every color mix, every technique, everything you need to know. I will be demonstrating how to draw this, but if you don't like drawing, I do provide a free traceable. You can find that in the description. There's a lot of things in the description. There's links to the websites, links to our art store. The materials you see in this are for sale in our art store if you want to. You don't need to. It's just optional. There's links to our website. You can sign up for the newsletter, links to Facebook groups, and all kinds of other resources, stuff for more Acrylic April things. So definitely check the description down below. Also, I like to hide the materials and just all the information down there. That's where I tuck it.
Yep.
They gave me 50,000 characters, and I just like to use them all for the glory of the characters. It's super fun. All right. I'm really ready to show you guys how you can create this fun painting for yourselves. It really was a delight to paint. I can't wait to share it with you. Get your paint, get your brushes, come back. I am fully going to show you how to paint this cute painting. Let's go over the materials for today's project. I have an 8x8 surface. I'm going to be using the colors on my palette. Right here is ultramarine blue. This is Mars black. This is yellow ochre, cad yellow medium, cad red medium, quinacridone magenta. This is phthalo blue and ultramarine blue again. And then here in the center, I have a little bit of titanium white. So that's what we're going to be using. Let's hop into the first step, because it's going to be super easy. All right, I'm going to take my 3/8 angle brush, 3/4 inch angle brush. I always get that one wrong.
That's an easy one to mistake.
Yeah, and I'm going to mix my black and blue together, making kind of a Payne's gray. And I'm going to paint the whole canvas.
That's a common background color.
Yeah, I like it. Even though it reads as black, it's nice to have the blue cast to it.
Would you say it's a pain to mix?
I would say it's a total pain to mix.
Is it?
No, it's just Payne's gray and Mars black. It's pretty easy to mix, I think.
It's just what colors make it? Oh,
Payne's gray and Mars black.
Payne's gray and Mars black.
No. Ultramarine blue and Mars black.
Ultramarine blue and Mars black make Payne's gray.
Make Payne's gray.
That makes sense.
That makes more sense.
Not Payne's gray.
Makes
and
Payne's
Mars
gray.
Black make Payne's gray.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. We're what? That's not helpful.
But we got it.
I am just painting this whole canvas a solid color of black. Or Payne's gray. You're being a pain today.
Well, it's all just...
It's on theme?
It's in that gray space.
Okay. I guess it is. So I'm just making sure that it goes around the edges of the canvas. That way it looks smooth, and I'm just making sure.
No, you're making yours is very smoothie.
What I'm doing is it's not so much even about its smooth or even application, though those things are nice. It is about making sure that all of the canvas has accepted this paint, because this is what's going to make it easier for everything else to stick and do all the techniques. So I like to do the ground, especially when we have this nice aquatic scene.
This is much more about getting the tackiness than it is about the... Gotcha.
And now I'm going to rinse my brush out thoroughly, dry it off, and then I have to dry this off before I do the next step. So let's dry it thoroughly. When we come back, I'll show you what we do next. So I kind of want to do two counterposed fish, and to help me do that, I'm going to make some gestural lines on the canvas. Now, if you don't want to draw this out step by step, you don't have to. There is a traceable on the website, and you can transfer it onto the image now. But just in case you want to draw your fish, I feel like it'd be a good idea to do that. You know, so I'm going to make a little curve line. And then a counterposed curve line. And this will give me kind of the motion of my fishes.
Fish motion.
Fish motion. I like to kind of bring the heads out. Thicken that up. A little bit to the belly. And then towards the tail. And then I'll get a nice curve on this. Do the same thing here. I love kind of doing the koi fish because they're such a simple shape. Widen out the head, belly, and then another little curved out fish.
Looks like you went fishing and caught two.
I'm going to add a little bit of eye coming off each side. There's little eyes coming off each side, and then I'm going to talk about little fins. They're coming back here. Little fins floating back that way.
Fancy tails.
Just trying to decide the curl of my tails right now. There we go. So some nice little furled off tails going off that way. And we have two little friends. They're circling each other. It's very Avatar if you watch the series. Water Nation. There we go. I like just kind of doing little thoughtful lines, just making sure I like the gesture of everything that I have.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So that it gives me the result that I'm looking for. Okay. So now that we have that done, we can go on to our next step. Now I want to paint some water kind of swirling and going around these fish. So I'm going to really get into my blue, but with a little bit of black. So it's a Payne's gray that's more to the blue. This gray has been a pain this particular lesson, so. But here's why we like it. It's this blue-gray color that it does. And I'm going to, this is a number 8 Raphael d'Artagnan round brush with the head is made out of hog bristles. The color mix is Mars black, ultramarine blue, and a little bit of titanium white. And then we're going to make little marks. Back and forth of little water. Sometimes it'll be darker and more blue. Sometimes it'll be lighter. And we're just doing little marks. There's a little bit of a curve to them, just to kind of talk about the motion in the water. If I add more white and blue. Just filling that in there. I'm kind of going carefully around, fussily around my fish. Not going to worry too much about my tail.
This is an interesting thing. Oftentimes I see people ask questions about why you paint the background around the objects as the foreground objects. And I think it's like, kind of like interesting because you have to be able to paint the background around the foreground objects in order to create that emphasis.
Yeah.
And so
I'm adding a little more white.
There's a lot of ways that you can get there, but
Well, I think that's what's key is there's a lot of ways that you can get there. I always look at a painting or a design and I just try to ask myself, what's the easiest way into this project? What are the challenges going to be? And is there anything I can do using techniques or just my visual vocabulary to make it an easier paint along? And a lot of times a solid ground where we sketch on top or we transfer the image on top does actually make things a lot easier for the painter at home.
It's true, it does. You do things for the painter's experience at home that it's like hidden. You hide the things inside there.
Little Mars Black and ultramarine blue, kind of coming around the little official kind of dark water. Dark water. I'll paint past the fins.
Down there where the dark oxygen grows.
Yeah, like the dark oxygen. That has been just capturing my imagination. If you don't know, there's these rocks at the bottom of the ocean that make oxygen. They just found them.
Through a slow hydrolysis process.
Yeah, it's extraordinary. And
battery.
Of course, they immediately decided to strip mine it for the lithium. However, it did present this extraordinary ecosystem down there with this surprise source of oxygen, and it may have given us keys to terraforming. It's just amazing.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, like, oh wait, we probably shouldn't take those rocks. We gotta leave those rocks.
We'll see what happens with it. I hope they leave the rocks.
Don't touch those rocks.
Don't touch those rocks. They really like the batteries, though, so hard to see how it's going to go down.
We need new battery types.
I think so. I think there's been some new progress on that recently. I'm just still doing these brushstrokes around the fish.
We're musing about technology.
Well, sometimes when you have a technique, and it's a long sort of repeated technique, and it's your first layer in that technique, you might want to... I just lost my train of thought. This is so funny. What did I say right before? The
different layers that you're working on.
Right. So when we're going through and we're adding up the layers, sometimes while you're doing that repetitive motion, distracting yourself with music or conversation, like calling a friend on the phone, if you just have to do a lot of the same thing again and again and again. I'm going more blue and black. So I'm really trying to alternate between the dark blue and black and the light blue and black to create this sort of energetic, watery space. Little ultramarine blue. It's only going to take a couple layers to get this space really worked out. And then we got all quiet.
That's okay. Because you're working on those layering of techniques.
Well, I think I'm getting quiet because I'm close to the fish and I want to pay attention to.
You got to get fish focus?
Yeah. I'm just bringing this dark color back into my lighter color. Making it uneven.
I like it.
And just bring that back out there. So you can just play with the light and dark of it. It's just watery.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be nice to just, we did if you're doing the daily painting challenge, yesterday was kind of a big challenge.
Yeah.
So I wanted to give us something that was beautiful and engaging, but also a little bit lighter.
I can see that.
I'm just bringing the darker blue around the fish. Ultramarine blue and Mars black. Let's bring that around here and I will come back over the tails. Even though I have a whole big tail on top of this, I will come up over the tails. You can always grab a little white into the mixture and ripple up some water. So it gives you that just blue-gray. It's kind of fun. I'm enjoying it anyways.
I am too.
I think I needed like a little chill project for myself too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like today, I required a chill day. And that's okay.
Chill.
Yeah, I think it's okay on a painting journey to have days that are more mellow than other days. Like some days you really, really test yourself, and some days you give yourself an easier assignment.
That's true.
I'm just bringing this through here. Making sure that my canvas is covered. I added a little white to it, and I'm now making little curved strokes to imply the water. You can play with how light and dark your reflections are. And how they're going to dance between the fish. Dancy dance.
Yeah.
Dancy dance between the fish. Little white, little blue, little black. Just coming here. Little white, little blue, little black. We're just making the light reflections in the water. We come through with the lighter color and we come through with the darker color, and they weave together like a basket. We're interweaving the colors in the brushstrokes. There is a curve. Sometimes I go back and forth, and sometimes I just make a single curve. But I can always go back and get my ultramarine blue and my Mars black. That was funny at the beginning, man. It just took a minute to get into the Payne's gray.
That's okay. Grays can be...
But it's just not black and white.
It's not. It's not an easy thing.
Bad color jokes. And art instruction. Yay!
They're not bad. They're just off color.
Oh, yes. The dad jokes will fly. I'm going to continue to make these little marks. So what I'm trying to do is create little ripples, a little rippling effect in the water. I'm not trying to stress myself out with it, but catch just sort of the general feeling of it. All right.
Right.
This is that step. We're going to come back. I'm going to show you what you do next. So now I'm going to come in with my 1/2-inch angle brush, and I'm going to start painting in the fish, which I'm going to do a little bit of ultramarine blue with some white, just to create like a slightly cool white. Not a blue, but an off-white with a hint of blue. Or perhaps you would qualify it as just a very, very light blue, but we're going to come in with that. It'll feel like white. To our eyes. I'm painting the whole fish white so that we can do the yellows and oranges on top.
And then they have better contrast.
Mm-hmm. And the colors will pop more. I'm just bringing them out to the tail. Now we will be blushing. We're adding a little bit of pink to the front of the fish's face, but for right now, we'll just use the blue, come out with my little corner and paint my eye. You can use your round brush if you have a hard time with the 1/2-inch angle brush around the turns. Kind of come into the little eye socket. I like that we're seeing these fish from overhead. I like that very, very much. going to do the same thing over here. Just the same. That's what I mean. Like sometimes in painting there's repeats.
One fish, two fish.
One fish, two fish. White fish, blue fish. Soon to be orange fish and yellowish fish. Because we're going to definitely put colors on there. Just using the edge of my brush to make the turn neatly. Sometimes my brush covers my view. And I have to like slow down and really look at it. Because my hand gets in the way or the brush gets in the way. I am kind of paying attention to the directionality of the brush stroke, even though this is just the first layer on the fish.
You mean you're kind of making them circular and fishy, flowing?
Yes. Fishy, flowing, circular. Yes, definitely.
Is that the technical term?
It is now. It is from now on.
Fishy, flowing, circular.
Fishy, flowing, circular. You never know. That might be the thing that like makes it clear to somebody. Now I do want to think about, again, my directionality of what I'm going to do with these tails. So I'm going to come and put back some lines again.
You're going to have to dry those too?
Yeah, I'm going to try those in a minute, but right now I just want to sketch a few lines for the tails. All right, once those are sketched in, I'm going to grab my 3/8 inch Princeton Select Filbert Grainer.
You need to dry it?
Not yet.
No.
Soon.
New step or same step?
Same step.
Okay, I'm
You're ready.
I'm ready. Got the button,
all right.
Button ready.
I'm going to get my brush into the white paint with the blue. I'm going to add a little bit of water so that it does flow off nicely. And I'm going to see if I can't use this brush to create some nice flowing, delicate little tails. I'll bring that back up over there, and then right here where we had put the fin, just carrying a little fin off here. Get a little water. You can use a round brush if you don't want to use the filbert, or you can just use a regular filbert grainer, or you could just use a regular filbert. So if you don't have this brush, you don't have to have this brush, but it does do a nice job of making these little fine, delicate lines that look like fins. I'm going to do the same down at the bottom. Nice little S-curve stroke there. That's why I like to sort of sketch it in ahead of time.
Yeah.
So that the flow that I'm looking for is easily there. Just bring it down around the edge. A little more water on here to improve flow, as you do. Nice little tail going off. And then another little really kind of exaggerate those out. I do dip my brush in water to improve the flow. It just makes things a little bit streaky.
That's nice.
Fantastic when you want it. Not ideal when you don't. All right, now we want to dry everything and call this a step. And when I come back, I'm going to show you what we're going to do next. So now I'm going to take my number 6 sepia round brush because it's going to give me a lot of control. I'm going to get it wet. I'm going to take a little bit of my yellow ochre and my cad red together. And I'm going to mix something more to the red than the yellow ochre. And I'm going to take a little bit over here into my white. And it's going to give me kind of a peach. A little bit of a peach. I'm going to come here and go over the eyes. Just paint that back. Just the white over to the peach. It's only at the front of the head. Little short brush strokes. A little more peach. Just making sure I'm doing little kind of brush strokes that are reminiscent of the scales that I'm going to do throughout the whole piece. But the texture of them will help it feel like it's got good continuity. Paint this right here. Make sure my eyes are just painted in nicely. And I'm going to rinse out. And I'm going to grab a little bit of my cad red, my cad yellow. I'm going to start working in some orange. And tapping in a little orange. Now you may have to bring some of this color in a sort of solid way back, and then we'll break it up with other colors. In a minute, I'm going to bring a few forward as scales. So just coming through with orange. And you'll very quickly see how having a little bit of white underneath lets us create this dramatic effect with the orange. Add a little orange to the fins there. Might come back and get them with the greener again in a second. A little white, but we're just working it right now. Kind of coming back and forth. Just painting this all in. If I need more water, I grab more water. Just to smooth or improve the flow of the paint. So this is very kind of orangey yellow. Coming through here. Coming down that tail. I'm going to rinse out. I'm about to sneeze. Oh, I passed. Okay.
I've been sneezy all day. I don't know what it is. Something just happened.
Something is in the air. I'm grabbing my Payne's Gray, which is my Ultramarine Blue, and my Mars Black. I'm going to make some more light, fishy colors. I'm tapping a little bit of the white into the yellow and letting the yellow kind of blend back into the white. Kind of creating a little bit of scale work there as well. I might bring a little bit of my orange kind of maybe perhaps here on the side. I'm adding a little bit of yellow to that. That's lovely. All right, let's call that a step, and when we come back, we'll do the other fish. Now this one has more complicated patterning, so I'm actually going to put in the pattern before I put in the white, just so I don't lose it in the middle of it. I'm going to mix my quinacridone magenta and my cad red together, and that's going to be my darker scale color. I'm going to come in the center of the head. I'm going to tap up a little spot. It kind of goes up and down. Come through here. And add some little marks down here. And this is the dark color of the scales. And if you overpaint anything, you can always go back with your white very, very easily. And change it. Koi fish are like painting floating jewels. They're one of my favorite things to paint. In any style I paint them in. It just doesn't even, like, the subject itself just carries me.
Yeah, they're fun. They're rewarding to do, because I mean, you get a handful of these done, and then like they're a collection.
They become a collection. Make a little spot here. So I like to create like interesting fish, you know, because some fish are like super interesting and their markings. Koi are really pricey. Like, people who are into koi, like, they could do $100,000 on a fish. They can do $1 million on a fish. There's been $1 million fish.
You know,
it's a very pricey little goldfish.
What I have learned is there are many things outside of my price range.
That is also what I have learned. I can paint them, but I can't afford the koi pond that they swim in. So I'm okay with that, though. It doesn't keep me up at night. Now I'm going to get back into what was my cad red, a little of my yellow ochre, and my titanium white, and it's mixed more to the red than the yellow ochre. I'm going to go ahead and get my brush in there and mix some white in. It's just going to give me this like peachy color. Try to weave those together. It's a little harder this way, but if you have such a complicated pattern, it is best sometimes to put the pattern in first and then come in with your ground, the area around it. I'm only going to take this back a little bit on the head. Kind of rinse this off. I'm going to go get my white fishy color, which is really just a very, very light blue. It's because I want room to darken the scales and lighten the scales. So I don't like to do my lightest or darkest value right off the get-go. Now, to me, it's okay that sometimes my brush picks up a little color and moves it around the canvas. That actually, to me, makes the painting feel more resolved. Love that. That's looking good. Looking good in the neighborhood. A little water on my brush to improve the flow. Kind of want to thicken up this tail a little bit. Also pull out some little white, just kind of making it more finished and resolved. More finished and more resolved. We like things in our lives and in our paintings resolved. We don't like a lack of resolution.
That's true.
But you can't always get resolution in life, but you can get resolution in your paintings.
That's true.
Now, I am going to want to dry everything and then thoroughly, and then I'll show you what we're going to do when I come back. I have thoroughly dried my canvas so that I can rest my hand for this work. I'm going to start with, I'm going to pull a little white out here. I'm going to start with a white. And I'm going to make little dashes. And these will pop on your fish. The white scales are very powerful. I can put a little bit of a highlight on my eye. A little bit of a highlight on my eye. Maybe one right across there, and then I can get back into my pink and make sure that the faces are blushed up beautifully. A little bit with the white in there, just making it look better. Come back with a little more of my light blue. Making sure that this is rich and covered. Now, I might get a titch of my phthalo blue. And have little marks. Put out a lot of phthalo, just a few little marks, but that's what we need it for. It's just a few little marks.
It's okay.
Just a few little marks in blue, just to imply a little shading, a little scale there. I'm going to go into I'm going to start with my yellow. Not totally pure yellow, but it's got a lot of my cad yellow in it. And I'm going to add little dashes. These are the scales. Around. I'm going to add scales around. Little dabs. I'm still just on this number 6 round brush. Added a little yellow to that fin, just to give it some break up my scales so that they go up into the head a little bit. A little more yellow. Now I might get a little of my white and yellow together. A little more white. It should be lighter than the background, and we're going to add some light scales here at the top. Those look good, don't they? Some yellow and white scales. Yellow and white scales. Maybe brush strokes of color over here. Come back with something brighter in a minute. I'm going to rinse that out. And I'm going to mix some of my yellow into my red, and I'll make a nice orange. I like weaving in the darker and lighter scales. It makes me happy.
I can get it.
This creates, like, even on a goldfish, it's just got so much going on with the iridescence and the reflection in a room. You can kind of see like everything that's around the fish in that reflection. So I like painting things a little more creatively. I'm going to grab some of my Cad Red. Just add a few scales. Because it's pretty. I'm going to grab some pure white and come down this tail with little dashes, leaving the little blue marks where they are. They're the shadows. I can paint some white there. Get into my yellow. Paint some yellow in that tail. Look at that tail. Super pretty. All right, let's call that a step. Dry this fish, and when we come back, I'll show you what you do next. I want to continue on over here, much in the fashion that I did there. So let's grab a little bit of our face color again, which was our Cad Red, our yellow ochre, and a little bit of tiny, tiny white. And I'm going to just make sure that the face is beautifully painted in. A little bit of a mouth there. This will help it pop when I come back with white scales. I'm going to get some just white. Add it into my blue just a little bit. Be cautious. And just tap that through. These are like the little scales. You just tap those through. Blend them up in there.
Yep.
Blend them.
It'll blend.
Just making sure that it's like scale-like texture through there. I come in and get just a touch of my phthalo blue. Grab a little more water. A lot more white. I like this to be there, but I want it to be subtle too. Sort of light blue. It's a nice way to kind of shade the white. Rinse, rinse, rinse. Let's get some white on the brush. Little marks there. Highlight on the eye. Highlight on the eye. I'll highlight on the mouth. And back into the scales. We're tipping the scales, John.
I see it.
I'm going to focus these mostly across the back. And they will read like little shiny scales. And rinse out. Get a little more quinacridone on my mix. This is my Cad Red and my quinacridone magenta. Brush that back, and I'm going to tap out some scales that appear very deep and dark. There we go. Now I'm going to get into my Cad Red. So a little bright red in there. And it should just help it to pop a bit. Just my pure Cad. Making little scales. I think this is a very hopeful, happy painting.
Yeah.
Little red dots for scales there. Little red off there. And now I'm going to come over to my orange. I'm going to take my yellow, mix it in, and get a nice bright little orange. It's subtle, but it's there. I love the little bright scales in here. Roll that off so it's nicely loaded on the toe of my brush. Making little dots. Paint a little bit of the orange out that way. All right. When we come back, I'm going to show you what you do next. Now I'm going to get my filbert grainer again. And you can use your round brush or a detail brush to get a similar effect. And I'm going to put out fluid acrylic. This is that optional white in the materials list, the titanium white fluid acrylic. If you don't have this, you just want to thin your white again with water. But right now I want this highly pigmented white, and I'm going to load it on the edge of my brush. I'm going to come here and very carefully make little curve marks, and this is sort of curving in the tail. Kind of also bring it down. There we go. Just pulling it through the tail here. That's looking very nice. I'm going to come very carefully on the edge of the fin. Brush back a little white. See how I sort of tapped it down and then I brushed that back?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to do that same thing here. Now I might turn my canvas a little bit so that I have an easy angle here. So I'm going to tap, 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 tap along and then brush back. And we're going to be back into this cutie patootie right here. I'm tapping along this little edge. Bringing the white back, kind of coming the opposite direction of the original brush stroke. And that makes this tail feel a little more finished. Making sure the tail looks really, really nice. And come here and do the same thing again. Getting my white onto my little brush. And coming here. Those fins are looking super nice. I'm going to go ahead and rinse that out. And while I'm at it, I'm going to take my number 6 round. And tap a little shiny white reflection at the top of Mr. Fissy-Fiss. Mr. Fissy-Fiss has a nice little shiny reflection because he's near the light. The scales are shiny.
And yeah.
Now, one of the tricks is I don't just go to the center. I don't make a straight. I don't make like this line. I break them up. I go out and I have different little scales that catch the light.
Yeah.
Make sure we got a little highlight right here. Okay, let's do the same thing right there. Tiny little marks through there. These are the shiny, this would be like the shine. Just bringing these little shiny scales down the little fishes. Making sure these are nice and highlighted. Oh, these guys are looking super good. Okay. Take
So
that
nice,
in
yeah.
for a second and dry everything so we can give this a signature. Okay, so once I got that dry, I'm going to take a little bit of my white over to my gray because I want my signature color to work in this piece, not against it.
Right.
So visible, but not disruptive.
Yep.
Is generally the goal. I'm using a number 1 Princeton Select liner. I like to use these for signing, and I'm resting my hand so that I have a nice steady hand. Just a little light day where the little fish swim and they had a nice time. And sometimes after a big painting, you need a light little painting to sort of, I don't know, it's like an amuse-bouche of art to like keep those creative juices going on this daily painting journey. Well, that was a ton of fun. What a great painting, our daily painting journey. So I do like to sometimes, if the previous day has kind of a big, more hard kind of thing, sometimes to go lighter, or if I do a couple hard ones in a row. And so I wanted to throw something in a little lighter, but that was really beautiful and graphically engaging. I think the fish is going to be some of the favorite for many of you because it's those techniques that just sort of come together beautifully, don't you think?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so really good. Now, I have a Facebook group, the Art Sherpa Official, and if you'd like to share your tutorial there, you can. We also have Acrylic April, and you can share all the Acrylic April tutorials in there. These are curated groups. We make sure that they're always kind and always supportive. That's one thing that you can count on, is the kind and supportive energy of the groups. I really loved today. Doing a daily painting is always transformative and also at the same time always a challenge. So for you guys that are showing up every day with me and you're still hanging in, I just want to give you a big art hug and tell you that you're doing a fantastic job. In this particular case, completion is the win. Just getting through the journey and finding your way to the end, that's where the big prize is. And hey, like, hopefully you can do it every day, but remember, real life happens. And sometimes, even when we're trying to do a daily painting challenge and we challenge ourselves to paint a painting every day, sometimes our life says, not today. And that's okay. That doesn't take away the big prize at the end where you get art growth. That's still going to be there waiting for you at the end of this. So on that note, I want you guys to be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and I will see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.